I'm St. John Flynn. Thanks for joining us here on The Front Row. The period of European cultural history that followed the Baroque was the Classical era, or the Age of Enlightenment. One of its pioneering musical figures was the last of J.S. Bach's four composer sons, Johann Christian. The younger Bach was the only composer whom Mozart acknowledged as an influence, and quite a bit of his music, his sinfonias, concertos and sacred choral works, are still performed today. However, nobody seems to be paying much attention to the fact that he also wrote operas, 10 of them to be exact. For his latest research and recording project, French countertenor Philippe Jaroussky is bringing that long-lost repertoire back into the light. He talked about it with KUHF's Chris Johnson.
I want to hear also about your latest recording project
Yeah.
with music of Johann Christian Bach, who was, as you say, not known as an operatic composer, and yet you have an entire disc of opera arias by him.
Yes, really. First, with the orchestra, with the Cercle de l'Harmonie, conducted by Jeremy Rohrer, we wanted to build a project together first. And a few years ago, we did some concerts with Mozart arias. And finally, we thought, why not to do a project about Mozart? And finally, for my voice, there is not so many things in Mozart operas. Sometimes it's too low, sometimes it's too high.
Yes.
And then I thought, why not to do Mozart and his time? And then I started to read some music from Gluck, from Johann Christian Bach, and when I started to read some scores of Johann Christian Bach, I really discovered very interesting music, and I discovered all the impact he had on the young Mozart. And there is some arias you are just thinking to hear the young Mozart, and the influence he had was very, very, very important. And after a few weeks, I realized that all these arias were completely unknown. I think that Johann Christian deserves an entire CD to defend him, to defend his music. I think I didn't want to put some Johann Christian Bach arias with Mozart. I really wanted to build a project like I did for Carestini, the same from Johann Christian, to explain his life and his personality. And I think it's quite interesting, really, to know better this composer, because maybe he's not so famous as like his father. Of course, he's not so famous like Gluck or Mozart, but I think he had a very, very, very important about the evolution of the style. And if really we want to understand the period between the Handel and Mozart, I think that Johann Christian Bach is one of the most important bridge between these two periods, these two composers.
Non ti trova commosso a tanto rari. Consiglio
I didn't know that 3 years ago that I would do a Johann Christian Bach CD. That was the surprise of the life. For Carrie,
Sure.
I knew this very deeply, but for Johann Christian, that was a meeting quite late finally, because even me 5 years before, I didn't like so much this type of repertory. I found that was a little bit boring and not so interesting like
Right.
Handel or like Mozart. And finally, more and more, I really learned to like this music. And maybe you need time to like this repertory, but there is very something sweet inside, and I think it was fitting quite good with my voice, actually. And that's why also I choose this program. A lot of people, if you are hearing this CD, maybe you can think it's less virtuosic than Carestini album, for example, but that was maybe the most difficult CD I had to record.
Really?
Because the range is very high, much more like some Mozart arias,
Okay.
And the phrases are very long. Maybe there is less coloratura things, but if, for example, there is a very long aria called Cara la dolce Fionna, which is during a long time. Maybe
Yes.
I think it's 13 minutes or something like this. And finally, to be able to do this aria on stage in concert, really I needed 6-7 months of practice this aria,
Just the one aria.
Yes, because at the beginning it was really terribly tiring for me.
Huh.
And then I really needed to domesticate this aria,
Yes.
really to practice this aria a long time before to be able to sing it on stage.
Anything in particular that you discovered about Johann Christian Bach that surprised you as you were working on this project?
Oh, what it surprised me maybe is not about music, it's about his personality, because if you are thinking about the Bach family, you have always on mind quite a very serious image. And finally, Johann Christian Bach was everything but not serious. He was very clever guy, and he didn't want to. He needed some adventures, you know. He was very. When he was young, his father died when he was just 15. He went to Berlin, and after quite very young, he understood that if he wanted to have a success as an opera singer and as an opera composer, he should go in Italy. And he went to Italy, and after few years, he became very famous in Italy. I think he was a warrior, you know. Mm. He was a very dominant person, and in the same time, very sweet guy. Everybody liked him so much, particularly in London. He was a big friend, for example, of the painter Gainsborough, or also a lot of intellectual people. And he was a very warm guy and very nice. And I think what I like is the way he was thinking about music. You know, he had this phrase, my brother, Carl Philippe Emmanuel, is living to compose. And me, I'm just composing to live. And I think that this type of character, he was maybe a little bit like Rossini, you know, very ironic person,
yeah,
and very clever at the same time. And I was very, very impressed by the way he was managing all his life, fighting, traveling, changing all the time of countries. What we don't realize sometimes is how the careers were international, even at this time, you know. And Mozart, Handel, and Johann Christian, they were traveling all around Europe, in England, in Spain, in Italy, in France, and that's really something I want to share with the public also, all this story about the richness of the career at this period.
You know, when you speak, I just hear nothing but a desire to express yourself to an audience, whether it be through the music of Johann Christian Bach or...
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yes, it's true that for me, you know, in art there is different levels. And of course, for me, creation is the first level, and interpretation is just at the service of the creation, you know. That's why I think, as a musician, as a singer, of course, I'm trying to sing the best as possible. And of course, when I'm singing, it's a meeting between my personality and the personality of the composers and the other musicians who are with me on stage. But I think we are just here to really share the music with the public. Absolutely. I think, of course, I'm playing the game of a singer, you know. But for me, I don't like, for example, when people say to me, I like it, but I'm not very enthusiastic than when people say to me after the concert, you have a beautiful voice. But if somebody says to me after a concert, I did not know this music, you make me discover this incredible music, and your interpretation helped me to enjoy this music, then I'm much more happier.
Well, Philippe Jaroussky, thank you for exposing me to your repertoire, to your voice.
Thank you. I hope it was clear enough.
Yes, it's very clear. And I must say you have certainly exposed me to a kind of music and a kind of expression that I didn't know existed, and that I didn't know I would love as much as I have.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.